And Pedro asks, if X is a right-wing cesspool, why do I keep getting bombarded with posts by progressives enraged about ICE? Elon said, same, lol. Somalis are now leading anti-ICE chants in Maine. Liberals are literally NPCs. Elon reposted that. Local protesters have created an autonomous zone in Minneapolis. No local or federal law enforcement are allowed inside, with makeshift bonfires lit up across the zone. And Elon reposted that. And Natalie Portman and Olivia Wilde wear ICE out pins to honor anti-ICE activists Renee Good and Alex Preddy. They've said nothing for the 35,000 Iranians massacred during just 2 days of protests. Elon said they are just puppets. Sean McGuire said societal scale insanity. And Elon said, seriously. Avery Day said, if we had to witness even a fraction of the hundreds of thousands of tragedies committed against U.S. citizens by illegal migrants, we would be overwhelmingly united in securing our borders and deporting those who entered illegally. And Elon reposted that. Tim Pool posted, deaths from ICE versus death from illegal immigrants per year. ICE has 2 deaths, and death from illegal immigrants he has over 400. And Elon reposted that. This guy who fractured the skull of an 8-year-old girl on a school bus is an illegal migrant from Mexico. And he says people are rioting and trying to kill and maim federal officers and agents to keep foreign nationals like this man in the US. It takes systematic brainwashing to convince a population to support such evil. We've seen it done historically already. And Elon reposted that. Dave Jones says, question for Americans from a dumb Aussie about the Minnesota thing. Obama used ICE to deport approximately 3 million illegals and got the nickname Deporter-in-Chief, and he wasn't even voted in on doing that. There were some protests, but nothing even remotely violent or crazy. Why is now everyone so violent and crazy? Is there any other explanation apart from Orange Man bad? And Elon reposted that. You probably didn't hear about what an illegal did to an 11-year-old little girl in her own bedroom because the media was too busy lying to you about ICE detaining a 5-year-old. Elon reposted that as well. But Carl says, MAGA are so hostile to illegal immigrants that they seem willing to excuse any action by ICE. Shoot a mom in the face? She was defending rapists. Shoot a nurse in the back? He was defending pedophiles. Next it may be, kill 4 people in a crowd? They deserved it too. Crazy. Wilfred Riley said, I mean, the mom, who had apparently lost custody of 2/3 of her kids due to neglect or abuse, got shot because she was illegally impeding an active arrest, tried to flee the scene and drove her SUV at a federal agent as part of that. The agent briefly went to the hospital with internal bleeding. The nurse got shot because he was directing traffic around an active ICE situation, moved over to illegally interfere with it and grabbed and scuffled with agents, all while armed and with 2 spare magazines on him. Both of these people were apparently part of a large illicit underground network that is apparently doing things like illegally recording license plates and addresses that are connected with ICE and flat out dispatching raiders to screw with government arrests. You can view these 2 shoots as good or not, but the state is not killing people for being too good, too noble. These were very predictable, avoidable situations of violence. And Elon reposted that. And this is the underground network being referenced. A rioter signal chat was exposed for all their internal plans targeting ICE agents. Now they panic, talk about fleeing the state or country, as Cam Higby was going undercover and got a part of these group chats, and he found the entire training manual for domestic terrorist patrols chasing ICE agents in Minneapolis. He said, keep in mind, this is the watered down Operation Security version. Elon said, wow, I think the most efficient way to show you guys is just to take a look at the table of contents. There's what to do if you are detained by a responder, if detained by ICE as a responder. There's risk levels and considerations, identifying abductors and vehicles. Elon said, wow. And in one of the files revealed by Cam Higby, a resources file directs people with money to a website, Stand With Minnesota, which in turn directs donors to a campaign ran by Tending the Soil on Chuffed. More about Tending the Soil later, but what to know is the campaign is hosted by Chuffed, and the first donation came from Johnny Sapatiak, a Canada-based community organizer who is part of Chuffed leadership and specializes in fundraising. He is most likely a central figure in raising money. So yeah, it's starting to look like foreigners are playing a key role in all of this. That's not all. I've put together a spreadsheet of 4,000 plus donors and their possible identities, and Elon reposted it. Mike Lee asked, what are the odds that the Minneapolis insurrection is being fueled by federal funding? Elon said 100. And Todd Blanche says, we deport 10x the number of illegal aliens out of Texas than we do out of Minneapolis. Why do we hear nothing out of Texas? Because in Texas we have the cooperation and support of local law enforcement so that we can do these operations safely. And Elon reposted that. Avery says it seems as though immigration and voter ID laws are the two biggest issues for each party right now. One side is fighting for unchecked immigration and no voter ID, and the other side is fighting for basic immigration laws and voter ID. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on here. And Elon reposted that. The Democratic Party has liberal white women by the nose ring. And Elon said, accurate. And Eric says, as a former Special Forces warrant officer with multiple rotations running counterinsurgency ops, both hunting insurgents and trying to separate them from sympathetic populations, I've seen organized resistance up close. From Anbar to Helmand, the pattern is familiar. Spotters, cutouts, dead drops, disciplined comms, role specialization, and a willingness to absorb casualties while bleeding the stronger force slowly. What's unfolding in Minneapolis right now isn't protest. It's low-level insurgency infrastructure built by people who've clearly studied the playbook. As we've learned from Cam Higby's infiltration, Eric says, signal groups at 1,000 member cap per zone. Dedicated roles, mobile chasers, plate checkers logging vehicle data into shared databases, 24/7 dispatch nodes vectoring assets, salute-style reporting on suspected federal vehicles, daily chat rotations and timed deletions to frustrate forensic recovery, vetting processes for new joiners, mutual aid from sympathetic locals, home-based coordination points, rapid escalation from observation to physical obstruction or worse. This isn't spontaneous outrage. This is command and control with redundancy. Replace ICE agents with occupying coalition forces and the structure maps almost one for one to early-stage urban cells we hunted in the mid-2000s. The most sobering part? It's domestic, funded, trained, and directed by people who live in the same country they are trying to paralyze law enforcement in. When your own citizens build and operate this level of parallel intelligence and rapid response network against federal officers, complete with doxing, vehicle pursuits, and harassment that's already turned lethal, you are no longer dealing with civil disobedience. You are facing a distributed resistance that's learned the lessons of successful insurgencies, stay below the kinetic threshold most of the time, force overreaction when possible, and maintain popular support through narrative, and never present a single center of gravity. I spent years training partner forces to dismantle exactly this kind of apparatus. Now pieces of it are standing up in American cities, enabled by elements of local government and civil society. That should keep every thinking American awake at night. Not because I want escalation, but because history shows these things don't de-escalate on their own once the infrastructure exists, and the cadre believe they are winning the information war. We either recognize what we're actually looking at, or we pretend it's still just activism until the structures harden and spread. Your call, America, but from where I sit, this isn't January 2026 politics anymore. It's phase one of something we've spent decades trying to keep off our own soil. Elon quoted that saying, interesting. And a statement from the NBPA and its executive committee on the fatal shooting in Minneapolis by ICE. There comes a time when silence is betrayal, quoting Martin Luther King. They said NBA players can no longer remain silent. Now more than ever, we must defend the right to freedom of speech and stand in solidarity with the people in Minnesota protesting and risking their lives to demand justice. The fraternity of NBA players, like the United States itself, is a community enriched by its global citizens, and we refuse to let the flames of division threaten the civil liberties that are meant to protect us all. The NBPA and its members extend our deepest condolences to the families of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, just as our thoughts remain focused on the safety and well-being of all members of our community. Lucky quoted that saying, there was literally a white student targeted because of his race and stomped to death at LeBron's I Promise school, and the NBPA had nothing to say. Elon said, damn. And this is Katie Abraham. She was killed by an illegal immigrant when he crashed into her drunk driving in Illinois. She was only 20, and her life mattered. Elon reposted that. And this is Jocelyn. She was assaulted and strangled to death in Texas by 2 illegal immigrants. She was only 12, and her life mattered. Cernovich said this gruesome murder was done by 2 illegal immigrants from Venezuela. I wasn't even aware of it, in fact, had to confirm. There are so many, but you never hear any pastors or the Pope or fake Christians call attention to this. It's always how we are supposed to open the border. And Elon reposted that. Arthur says empathy is good. Empathy that allows for massive destruction is suicidal empathy. We must be able to know and articulate the difference. As he points to sex-related charges by illegal immigrants, 4,390 of them. And Elon reposted that. And we saw this post from Stephen Miller the other day, saying how the use of the phrase asylum seeker is absurd, as CBS reported on an asylum seeker's son who was abandoned as his father ran from ICE agents. And Stephen Miller says the use of the phrase asylum seeker is absurd because there is zero persecution in Ecuador. This is an illegal alien who broke in December 24, and illegals get free lawyers. Their free lawyers universally file fake asylum claims, and those fake claims are rejected. Wilfred Riley said more to the point, there are something like 8 reasonably stable countries between Ecuador and USA, including real gems like Costa Rica and El Salvador today. It's just damned absurd to walk or bus through all of them and desperately seek my safety in like Houston. Here's a map. Elon said bullseye.